Well, Mark Driscoll says,
the question is not, will the man or the woman lead? The question is, will man or the devil lead?
hey, if you like this content, like, subscribe, and give me a comment. Give me a comment down below. Mark Driscoll is at a men's conference, and he is preaching about how your wife is your toughest challenge. Let's go to the video.
Male and female. And together they have what? Dominion. Here's what I want to talk about, and this will be our big idea. The man doesn't have dominion over the woman. He has dominion over the animals. The woman doesn't have dominion over the man. She has dominion over the animals. The man and the woman do have dominion over the children, but they don't have dominion over each other. They have dominion together.
So here's the big idea. And he says this is the big idea of his message, his sermon, whatever, to the men at the conference here. The man does not have, according to Genesis chapter 2, the man does not have dominion over the woman. The woman does not have dominion over the man, obviously. And he's going to go into this more and more, that the man, does not have dominion over the woman. That, yeah, I guess that's not specifically stated like that in this teaching here, that he has dominion. Dominion meaning sovereignty or control. Sovereignty or control. Does he have biblical sovereignty or control over his wife? Well, I mean, I guess not. You can be controlling, but I guess you don't have control necessarily of your wife. She is to submit to your authority. So yeah, I guess I could get on board with that, but you're going to see how that language kind of gets a little shaky here when we go into headship. Then, well, you don't have dominion over her, so you have headship, I guess, but what does that mean?
Feminism would teach that the woman should be out front. She should be in dominion. You should follow your wife. You should do what she says. Chauvinism would say the opposite. No, you should be out front, and you should be domineering and dominating, and you should boss your wife around, and she should just, do what she's told.
Notice that if you lead your wife and tell her what should be done and what she should be doing, well, you're a chauvinist. Well, that used to just be a leader. A leader would tell you what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. Now we framed it. Notice it's framing. The framing is, I framed this as if you are a leader, you're bossing people around and whatever. Now maybe bossing is kind of a aggressive word, but you're leading, you're telling people what to do, you're telling people what's best, you're saying you got to do this because this is the best way to do it, blah, blah, blah. We are chauvinists. You're chauvinist.
God's like, no, she comes from the side, so they're equal. And when they consummate their covenant, they're not two, they're one. And the question is not which one, but they're a new one. You can't just be like, here's how I am. You need to conform to me. She's like, well, there's two people here, and the two are becoming one, and now we got to figure out who we are together. And it's not which one.
Oh, all right. So let's dive in here a little bit. So the two become one, and now they're equal. They're equal. So you're going to have dominion as equals in the marriage. Whoa, time out. I've heard this taught so many times, and it literally is just like mystical nonsense that the two become one flesh. Literally, what scripture means by the two becoming one flesh is talking about sexual union. That's all it means. This isn't some crazy mystical idea of, oh, we have become this strange entity now because the two have become one. No, scripture defines the two becoming one flesh, meaning sexual union. That's all it means. Because the two can become one flesh, is what 1 Corinthians says. The two can become one flesh with a prostitute. It's describing that becoming one flesh with a prostitute, right? And that's not your wife. So, and that's why in 1 Corinthians it's saying don't do that, because you don't want the two to become one flesh with a prostitute. That God has clearly said this is wrong. Don't do this. So this mystical idea, oh, we're equals in marriage. We're equally doing this thing. The two have become one flesh, blah, blah, blah. No, that's nonsense. Two becoming one flesh means sexual union. That's all it means. not this mystical idea of, oh, now we've joined in the spirit world, blah, blah, or whatever. I mean, you think we're Mormons now that we've joined in the spirits and we're going to populate our own planet now for all of eternity or something like that or whatever. I don't know.
Some of you have heard me say this. Who's the head of the family? God and then the husband, and he co-rules with the wife. They're plural leaders. So it's not that dad is domineering over mom. Mom and dad rule together. They have dominion together. The children are to honor and obey their mother and father. But at the end of the day, he's firstly responsible. That's what it means to be the head.
So this is important now, because I think he gets this totally wrong. This is what it means to be the head. You and your wife rule as equals together, having dominion. You are ruling together as equals, having dominion. And because you're the head, you have all the responsibility. Again, this is why I love it. All these guys, it's all the man has all the responsibility and no authority. That's always the same one trick pony. You have all the responsibility and no authority. No authority. You are equals. Now, I would just ask, if I was sitting down with Mark, I'd say, Mark, what business, what country, what anything functions well with two equal leaders, where you have a vote where they both are ruling equally together and they both equally have the same vote? No business, no country, no anything functions like that. Any country or business has one person at the top that is going to make the final call, right? That has that actually has realized authority. There's one person that has realized authority. Even in our government, there's checks and balances, sure, but there's one person that has the authority for the most part, right? We have one person in there that's going to break the tie vote. They're going to do whatever, right? With the Congress and all that kind of stuff. What functions well with two having equal authority? I don't think there is an example of something that's functioning well with two equal authorities ruling over something. Like, somebody has to be the leader.
So let me ask you this. Could Satan have shown up when Adam was still single? He could have, but he didn't. Satan doesn't even show up until Adam is married. And I always like to say, after the wedding comes the war. I hear single guys all the time like, man, I'm really in a spiritual battle. I can't wait till I get married and the battle's over. That's first and second nonsense, sir. I mean, you are right now, you're in a Nerf gun fight and there's real guns coming. I'm just telling you, that's what you're dealing with. Hey, how many of you're
But again, I think he's supposed to be encouraging the young men to get married. And you're saying to the young man, boy, just wait. That's when the real war starts. And I'm thinking, yeah, sign me up for that. Yeah, that's what I really want to sign up for, the real war. The person that's supposed to be, according to scripture, in a covenantal bond, she's supposed to be my helper to help me on my mission. I'm going to actually have the biggest war of my life when I have that happen. Now, how far into feminist nonsense have we gone? If that's what we really believe biblical marriage is now, that, oh, it's going to be the biggest war of your life. Like, yeah, no wonder why none of these young men want to sign up for that. Like, this is supposed to encourage them to get married. Yeah, here, sign up for this. Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Like, if it's really that bad, the women probably need some coaching then, right? If they're saying, hey, this is just the expectation, you get married, you're just going to go to war with your husband. What? Has anybody read Titus chapter 2, that the older women should teach the younger women to be reverent to their husbands, to be submissive to their husband, to treat their husbands with respect? Is anybody doing this today? I probably not. Yeah, probably not. Okay.
No, she's a little intimidating and she's very competent and I don't want to get in trouble, so I just kind of stay out of the way. Then you're saying, Satan, I'm going to be passive and I invite you to be active. And the question is not, this will be offensive if I've not been kicked off the internet yet, this should do it. The question is not Will the man or the woman lead? The question is, will man or the devil lead? Those are the options. And if the man won't lead, the devil will. That's what happens.
Whoa. Okay, so here now this you'd have to listen to the whole. I'll put a link to the video here, but here's where just the illogic comes in. So he says, if you don't lead your wife, then and you allow her to lead, that is the same as the devil leading, right? So he's saying if you don't lead as the God ordained leader, then the devil is leading in your marriage. As they like, wow. Now, I don't know if I'd go that far, but even he was just saying though that you both have dominion together as equals. Okay, so if you here's where the logic, I'm just not seeing the logic. So if you have dominion together as equals, and when I hear as equals, that in my mind that means egalitarian, blah blah blah, like, oh, we have 50-50 vote here, blah blah blah. If we're talking as equals, then you're co-ruling with the devil, right? Well, either you're going to have real authority and real leadership where you say, listen, you need to follow my lead and submit to my rule and what I'm doing here. Or you want to have co-leadership, co-equal leadership with the devil. Well, like this is where the illogic is just, I just don't get it. I don't get how you get to this point in the sermon. And maybe he didn't think it out real well. I don't like, maybe it's not thought out the best. Who knows? I mean, it's just like whether you want to co-lead with the devil, then you either give the devil the lead in this analogy, or you co-lead as equals with the devil. Those both sound pretty bad. Those both sound pretty bad. Anyway, we gotta get this turned around. Even with all, unless I like Pastor Mark Driscoll, I do. I like the guy. It's just when he starts talking about this stuff, it's like, oh man, the framing is off. It's just so off on Genesis 2 and then going into Ephesians chapter 5 and these very plain scripture passages on what is to be taking place. And the framing somehow is so simple and so straightforward, and it gets completely turned around when we frame marriage. And we got to get that turned back around here. But with that being said, Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man.